What's up? It's your boy, the Notorious Migs, back again with another video. And today, we're going to be talking about FIFA Career Mode in a bunch of different aspects for that matter. Now, the first aspect I would like to talk about is FIFA 18, briefly. Obviously, for those of you who are subscribed to my other channel, AFTVAU, you would have seen that I uploaded a Career Mode which I intended to cross-upload. So for Notorious Migs and AFTVAU. Now, for a couple of reasons, that's going to be discontinued. Or three, I should say. A, it's kind of hard for me to find the time to do it, like right now, because I'm just very busy state. Which is why majority of my videos, probably for the next year, I'm just going to record like this on my phone, or I'll be talking for X amount of time. B, like FIFA 18 is in that state where it's kind of dying, you know? FIFA 19 is where the hype is going to be now, and FIFA 18 is just kind of dead, if I'm being honest. And what was my other reason? Yeah, see, it's just been hard to cross-upload for reasons that they think it's duplicates or whatever. The computer's like shit these days, so yeah. Now, onto FIFA 19. That career mode, I mean, I would like to see this FIFA 19 career mode. I want to see a few changes, but even if we're talking about, say, the next 2 or 3 years in career mode, I want to see like a massive overhaul. And I think that there should be one, especially given that in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see a PS5 come out, rumored, and new Xbox. So, what I would like to see is that there's a whole host of new features available, and that the features that you use, they're fairly customizable as to what features you use and what features you don't, because, and I'll explain that a bit later. Firstly, the features that need to be added in. Position change training. Like, please. Really, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory there. Position change training. Variable player potentials. Obviously, players have their potential, like, you can start off your career mode save with all the same potentials, like Mbappe 94, Asensio 92, Donnarumma 94, you know. But depending on how they play, those should change. If Mbappe gets injured all season or has an incredibly shit goal scoring ratio or shots to goal or goals to appearances, he shouldn't keep a 94 player potential. Like, really. You know? And as well, player overalls need to be somewhat affected by form. And other things in player performance too. Like, a player's strength shouldn't stay in the 80s or 90s if they're getting injured constantly. You know, as well. And a player's stamina, say, as well, I would assume gets affected by injuries. The overall should be determined on how well they're playing form. Obviously, strikers scoring a lot of goals, midfielders in their play, defending, goalies and clean sheets and all that shit. That should affect the overall. As well, I feel like there should be a little bit more interactivity with player, like, rehab and gym work in terms of them coming back from injuries, because that can affect the way a player plays. And another thing to do with player injuries, and also very separate from that, is the whole idea of reserves, under 23s, 18s, youth academy, you know, because I've got, say, a youngster in my Arsenal side, say Emil Smith Rowe, if he's in the next FIFA save. You know, well, I may want to keep him for another season in the youth team, because maybe I don't have enough room. Maybe I go and buy, I don't know, hell, Ronaldo or something for my left winger, or I bring Alexis back or some shit like that. You know, I'm not going to be able to put Smith Rowe into my team, so I want to put him in my youth team. You know what I mean? And I can monitor his progress better there, for instance. And on monitoring progress, that brings me to my next point. We don't get enough information on players from outside of the domestic league which you look at. And you don't get enough information on your players out on loan. Say I'm using Arsenal or another English Premier League team, and I loan a player out to a club in Spain. I can't see how many appearances they made in the Spanish league, how many goals they've scored, how many assists, and average match ratings or stats like that. you know? And I want to have access to that to A, see how my players on loan are doing, and B, if I'm shortlisting players or targeting players abroad, I want to know what their stats are too, you know? That that really needs to be in FIFA, I think, because that would make the management experience a lot better. Also, I disagree with the Parker bus being removed, and I think it should be brought back because I feel like with management, it's a tactic that should be available. Yeah, it's shit to play against. I fucking hate playing against it, and I know many people do, which is why most people are happy that it's been removed. But if I want to play against Manchester United with another big side, say another Arsenal, City sort of caliber Premier League team, or I'm using Madrid or Barca or something like that, United tend to park the bus. That's the way they play. So if you want to realistically have an experience against United, you need that tactic in the game. So why remove tactics no matter how good or bad they are? Keep adding the tactics in. That way the game is more realistic. And on top of that, like I said, United under Mourinho will park the bus, right? But why can't managers change like clubs? And then the tactics change with that. Say Mourinho leaves a team and Arsene Wenger goes to a team. Maybe the team becomes more attacking. Maybe their defense becomes weaker. You know what I mean? With different managers. That would be an interesting dynamic. Also, young managers coming up too. Because you can't keep, say, if Arsene Wenger goes on to manage another club, you can't keep him in the thing for 15 or 20 seasons, regardless of how many transfers he makes or what team he decides to stay at or what. Because the guy's like already nearly 70 years old. There's got to be a point where managers will call it quits, just like players do. So that manager retirement and bringing youth managers up, or even say like Andrea Pirlo or Tim Cahill, those type age players, when they retire, they become managers, you know? That would be interesting too. That could add something, you know? Different managers, even if when they're coming up players or unknown managers, using tactics and it becomes more of a mystery and you have to constantly change and try to adapt to things or have your team be equipped to deal with multiple tactics to accommodate for different opposition instead of just playing one or two styles that the CPU throws at you, you know? That would be great to have. And I mean, it's hard to think of more. Yet request funds. That needs to be back. Requesting funds needs to be back, I think, because, you know, obviously, we need money, especially in today's career mode society. And I've heard the upgrading stadiums thing, which would be a decent feature in my opinion too. I'm not really the biggest advocate of that feature, but I wouldn't mind it. And the manager overall system needs to be more accurate, so like less glitchy, that it will go down from 80 to 60 for like no freaking reason at all. And there needs to be some input from the fans in terms of how your rating is. Like, obviously, you can have how your board member thinks about you and how your fans think of you. Like, when Arsene Wenger was at Arsenal, for a lot of years, you had the likes of Gazidis and Kroenke thinking he was great. So, like, he would have had a manager rating of 90 from them. But the fans wouldn't have given him jack shit. They were protesting for him to leave, you know. And I was someone who wanted Wenger to leave as well. Obviously, I had that little, like, mini party video that he left on AFTVAU. You know what I mean? Like, that in itself is great for Arsenal. Like, not, why did I say great for Arsenal? But it will be great for career mode is what I meant to say. You know what I mean? So you can see the dynamic with how the fans feel about you, how your board feels about you. And it's more than just a number that isn't even accurate half the time. Another thing, objectives. You need to be able to, like, understand the objectives better and how to achieve them. Because especially with, like, brand exposure and financial, there's, like, the whole increase the get attendance to feel get sell out 90% of games, or increase season ticket holders by X% or some shit like that. How the hell do we do that? You know? And that could screw you over as well if you don't know how to do those things, especially if, say, you're at a club where the finance is like the high priority stuff, as opposed to, say, your domestic performance, which I think in FIFA, I think is pretty rare actually, that finance is your main objective. But here's the other thing. There's a whole host of features which I mentioned. There's probably more that I'll end up thinking of after the video that I went like, oh shit, I should have mentioned it. But the idea of being customizable and different. Now, when we go into career mode saves, say you look through the Premier League, you're going to get your clubs like City, Chelsea, probably Liverpool, United, Arsenal, the top 6 teams. You probably have win the league, win the FA Cup, make it to the semis, finals, or win the Champions League, or whatever European competition they're in. Sell 200 million quid worth of shirts. All of that, like stock standard, same objectives. But they should be more variable as to what owner or what type of owner the teams have. So, like, for instance, Arsenal's objectives should be maybe less emphasis on winning your leagues and Champions Leagues and more emphasis on finance. Whereas if you're managing Manchester City, it's the exact opposite. Or I'll say Chelsea because it's the exact opposite, actually. Because with Arsenal, you have the likes of Stan Kroenke owning the club, who's kind of got Arsenal more to make money. You know what I mean? Whereas Chelsea, Abramovich doesn't stop pumping money into them. So you got two very contrasting styles of owners, yet when you have your board objectives in FIFA, they're virtually the same. The only thing that will change it is the caliber of the team in relation to the teams in the rest of the world and in relation to the rest of their league. That's all there is to it, which is pretty, kind of crap. And if they can't get the official, owners' names or whatever in licensing in the next couple of FIFAs, so Arsenal, Stan Kroenke, Chelsea, Roman Abramovich, Man City, Sheikh Mansour, or all the rest of it, at least have, a few different owner types. So, for Arsenal, emphasis on making money, less emphasis on winning the league, bring in the crowds, put something on brand exposures. Whereas Man City, high achievers, want highest possible achievements, invest money into the squad, keep bringing in your world-class players, keep winning the league titles and go for Champions League and shit, There should be that kind of difference to it with the owners. And in that sense, there should be more, more depth added to that whole financial takeover feature. Because when owners take over clubs, it's not always good. Like, for instance, when Stan Kroenke took over Arsenal, we've been jack shit ever since in terms of achievement-wise, and for how many years we've only been able to have, one, maybe two at best marquee players every season. And we haven't been able to build the squad around that. And Wenger's complaining that he's had no money to spend. And even this season, Emery our net spend was quite low, you know what I mean? And that happened after a takeover. Whereas Chelsea, they got loads and loads and loads of money pumped into them consistently because of Abramovich, and City with the oil and Sheikh Mansour and bloody Qatar sponsoring them, and United being the biggest club in the world and the biggest brand and everything like that. And that should have an impact, I think, the type of owner you have. And as opposed to it being something that you can buy with the EA credits, it should happen more randomly, which it did at times. And it should happen where it's not always a good thing. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. Now, what I mentioned about the stadiums before, I feel that if that is introduced in the game, it should be something that is primarily left to the owners of the club, because that will add a lot more diversity to the career mode. Say, let's use Tottenham as an example now, because they've invested a fair bit into expanding on or upgrading White Hart Lane. So, like Arsenal did 10 years ago with the whole hybrid to Emirates move, Tottenham may have a lot of money going out in investing in the stadium. So, say, if that happens, or your owners do that, or you decide to do that, you have ongoing money coming out of the club into the stadium, which means it may be harder for you to buy bigger players, which would obviously add a bit more of a challenge to, say, Road to Glory career modes. You know what I mean? If that was a thing. Because, say, I take over at Portsmouth and they have a stadium capacity of 10 or 15K or something like that. By the time I get into the championship, they might want to up that to 25 or 30,000, which means that I may be in the championship for 2 or 3 seasons because I may not be able to buy the players I need because of money being invested in the stadium. And then when I get into the upper end of the Premier League going for Champions League, they might want to up that to 60 or 70,000 to match the crowds of the Emirates and Old Trafford and Allianz, like for Munich and whatever, you know? That would be very interesting. I think owners have an impact as well. And now what I was talking about before with the whole customizable use of features is that every manager and the way management systems work at clubs is different. Like, for instance, Arsene Wenger versus Unai Emery at Arsenal. Arsene Wenger was a manager who was a very totalitarian in terms of what he had control over. He had control over the purchases of players, offering them their wages and negotiations, controlling the team and the training, you know, who to buy, who to not buy. He had control over pretty much everything, bar maybe the stadium and the kit sponsorships, you know? So if you want to be that like Arsene Wenger type manager, say, you can have control over all the available features. And that's something that you can bring up to the board and say to the board, you know? Whereas if you want to be a more manager where you just look at the manager of the team, maybe you have the player, your squad available, your reserves teams, your training available, and then maybe you have some impact on the transfers. Like you could prepare a short list of, say, okay, I'm managing Arsenal. I need to buy one more centre back. I have Jerome Boateng, Giorgio Chiellini, and Matt Hummels on my short list. Here, director of football, go get them for me. You know what I mean? Instead of you taking all the control of the transfers, depending on what type of manager you want to be, because obviously people are different and managers are different in world football. And maybe in that sense as well, you could have the option of, say, out of those two, he manages to get Jerome Boateng and Giorgio Chiellini to accept the contract. And then he's like, all right, who do you want, Boateng or Chiellini? And then I can select one, and then they can come to the team, and Chiellini's deal might fall through, or, you know, that type of thing would be interesting as well. I feel that would be I think that in career mode could be interesting. Having customizable features depending on the owner, depending on the model of the way the club is run, giving the manager interactions with the board as to, I want more control of this sector, I want more control of the transfers, I want more control of the brand exposure, or no, I want a director of football to control transfers, I need to focus more on the team, I want more supervision on my under 23s. That would be very interesting as well to see. And the other thing that I remembered is with manager transfers, there should be a contract thing, because right now in career mode, if I select Arsenal to do my career mode save, until they fire me because I've been utterly shit, or I apply for or accept a 1 in a million job offer from another team, my contract at Arsenal is like permanent. Why can't there be a system where I say sign a 2-year contract at Arsenal to start? Maybe in the first year I don't get many managerial offers because, you know, but then maybe in the last year of my contract, I can get offers from Chelsea and United and Barca and whoever, or maybe lower teams if I'm not that caliber of manager based on my performance. You know what I mean? As well. And job openings of other teams can be impacted on managers on the last year of their contract. Say Conte gets sacked, like in real life, or Wenger gets sacked. Opportunity at Arsenal, opportunity here, opportunity there. Or I can't really apply for a Man City job because Pep Guardiola signed a long-term contract there. Or something, you know. How interesting is that? And then maybe Arsenal, say I'm at Arsenal, and then say, oh no, we've agreed to deal with Pep Guardiola, your services are no longer required, or something like that. To make the career mode very, you know, more diverse in that sense. And as well, more interactions with the players should be available. Like, okay, like I said, I want to play Aubameyang ahead of you this game because I feel that this player will suit this game better. Or no, Guendouzi, you've been great and you're my usual first centre mid, but I'm playing Xhaka next to Torreira because I feel we need to be more defensive this game. Or I want to save you for the Champions League final, and we've already won the Premier League, so I'm not going to play you. I'm going to play my second string team. You know, instead of them just whinging that they're not getting enough game time or they want to make a transfer request, you know? And the whole idea that they used to have a players being unsettled, you know what I mean? You can interact with them why as well, if that was like something brought back into the game in future FIFAs or future years. Because before it was like Mesut Ozil homesick, wants to go back to Germany. You can't make any interactions. You just have to hope that he decides to stay, or you do one of those glitch things like you send him out on loan, or you offer them a new deal and they accept, or something like that. You know what I mean? To try to help them through, give you more control there. And one more thing. Now, sometimes players on career mode, for a bit of fun, will customize player ratings. Like when I was really young, I used to put Messi and Ronaldo and Iniesta and like every freaking top player you could see into Arsenal, and I would beef them up to like 99 rated. You know what I mean? Because, and now sometimes I customize the player ratings and it'll be based on what I think they should be rated, or ratings predictions or stuff like that. Especially in this stage of FIFA when the ratings are a little bit like Aubameyang is going to go up or go down, or Reece Nelson's had a blinder overseas and he should go up by 10, or Bellerin's been terrible, let's downgrade him, or let's downgrade Czech, or, Monreal's been our best player, let's put him up by 2 or 3, things like that. And this is something that I noticed with the old players especially, because I haven't gone far enough into because I don't really do it so much with young players, because I don't know how it affects their potential when they're training. But when you, say I make Monreal 99 rated, right, and he's like 30 years old, if he loses, say, 1 in any stat, he will go down from 99 to 80 to his original rating, which is 80 as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, how does that happen? Like, that is the stupidest glitch in FIFA. Like, really, that shouldn't be a thing in FIFA. And although the player will play pretty much the same, what it does is it affects their transfer value. So I won't get 100 million from Monreal 99 rated if he goes back down to 80. I'll get like 10 or 20 million for it because of the whole ratings glitch, which is a problem. I'm just not the biggest fan of that. That really kind of sucks, those type of things. And as well, that reminds me of one thing too. When you create players, in FIFA, they naturally have a potential of 99. So, depending on their age, obviously, whether they get to the 99. But if they're young enough, say under 22 or 21 or whatever it is, or depending on how close the rating is, so that they get to 99. Like I did at Arsenal Invincibles career mode on FIFA 17, and I had Henry at 93, and Ian Wright, and Bergkamp at 92 or something like that, and Perez was 91, whatever. And they were 25 years old. Within 3 seasons, I had half my team 99 rated, which obviously is great, but come on. You know what I mean? What I think is that you should be able to set the potential of the players you create. And obviously in career mode, going back to that potential thing before, it should be flexible depending on how the player plays, injury record, etc. So, yeah, I've been waffling on for nearly half an hour, or just over 20 minutes. So, I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you agree with some of these features that I've mentioned in the overhaul, and that idea of different owners and of the club, and being able to customize what features you can and can't use and things like that, depending on your management style. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to AFTVAU. Subscribe to Michael Germanos for more like techies type of videos and stuff like that. And yeah, see ya.